Good morning, Jobman champions. I hope you are having a wonderful Thursday. Welcome to our last webinar of the year for 2025. This is a special edition release. We initially intended to end the year on volume 14, which came out a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully you've all had an opportunity to see that, which broke down a lot of the amazing work that's happened over the year. However, we were very fortunate that we were able to release two massive features before the end of the year, which is really exciting. So we wanted to jump in, give you a special edition webinar to cover these two new amazing features and give you something to look at and think about over the Christmas break, whilst hopefully you're having a nice, well-earned rest and having an amazing time. So today we have deliverables and appliances. Let's dive in. So the agenda today is nice and straightforward. We have our two new massive release features for the end of the year. The Deliverables module, which includes the ability to break down checkpoints, includes scanning via the kiosk mode, and a number of other really important facets and features for your business. And one of our new paid modules, which is the appliance feature. And I'm going to be diving into both today. I'm going to be honest, I am extremely excited about the Deliverables module. I think it's one of the best features we've been able to release this year, and it solves a lot of problems for a lot of manufacturers across the board, across pretty much every manufacturing sector. So very, very happy to see that come in. Before we kick off, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and say a huge thank you for your support this year and previous years. We're really looking forward to moving into 2026 and seeing what else we can deliver on this wonderful product for your business. But to date, we certainly want to say thank you so much for your support and your time, and we hope you are enjoying the software as much as we enjoy building it. So let's jump in. Quick note before we start. This particular webinar will be time-stamped once we upload it and deliver it to YouTube, just so that if you're coming to this either live or post-hoc and you want to be able to check out the information, you want to go directly to appliances, for example, and not watch all the stuff about deliverables, you'll be able to do that. We'll time-stamp them into where I start the demonstrations. My aim today is not just to show you the systems themselves and the features and how you can use them, but also a little bit of the background behind them as well. Not massively complicated to get operational in your business. And that was one of the things we were really excited about these two new features and their delivery, was the ability to come in and make them fairly straightforward to just start using very quickly, especially if you're already using the system, which is really good. I will be honest, we've had some amazing releases this year that have focused on some big day-to-day problem wins. Two off the top of my head that I absolutely loved and were certainly extremely well received were the stock ledger inventory report, the ability to understand and know where your stock is moving through your jobs, what you've got left over, what's being removed, what's being picked. That really granular data just absolutely solves the problem of how much did I use, how much do I have left over, how can I forecast, where are things happening through our process where we can improve. And the other big one, of course, was the stock in transit capability, which is just a phenomenal, why did this get over-ordered feature? Just stop that in your business from outset. And a lot of what we certainly focus on from a feature perspective, on top of usability and user experience enhancements, is always what more problems can we solve? And today's two features certainly solve some huge problems. As always, this webinar is being recorded. So if you've joined us today, thank you so much. I really appreciate having people live on the webinar. It certainly makes the Q&A time experience more fun. But if you are unable to make it today, but you have registered, don't worry. We will be sending a copy out to everybody. And then beyond that, we'll also be putting it up on YouTube so that you can come and find this great webinar and information down the line. As always, part of Jobman's mantra has always been transparency. We do as much as we humanly can to provide as much information, education about the software and what we're delivering for free at any time for you to come along and check out and get using those features. Everyone is on mute for this webinar just so we can keep things rolling forward. But if at any point you do have a question, jump down the bottom of your Zoom bar, hit the Q&A button, and I usually have a bit of time at the end just to jump in and answer a few of those questions. Doesn't have to be specific to today's webinar itself, but if you do have questions about what's going on, feel free to dive in and we'll make sure we cover off a few of those at the end. So, what are these brilliant two new features? The first big one is deliverables. Deliverables is always one of those interesting considerations for every business, no matter the manufacturing sector you work in. A lot of the industries we work with closely and predominantly focused on, such as cabinet making, joinery, furniture making, boat building, commercial fit out, a lot of those industries, the manufacturing process is really about delivering products at the end of the cycle or the stream. The process is designed with Jobman to come into your business end to end from customer, to client, CRM, quoting, item specifications, through to the job management, measuring time, checking off the target dates, keeping everybody on track, utilizing the agenda screens, measuring that time, and then procurement for materials, and then ultimately getting through the end of the process and being able to see how you went. A big part of that has always been accountability. And there are two massive areas where, now I'm not limiting this functionality to two, but there are two massive areas where we absolutely believe this can be of huge importance to your business. The first one is the ability to handle and manage checkpoints, and they would be things like Q&A. So you've been through your process and you know that you've manufactured your products, or you're managing your appliances or other components of the job itself, and you want to make sure that everything has been built and is to a standard. And the second biggest one, probably for most companies looking on this at outset, would be then dispatch. Getting all of the things out to site. Now, I can tell you that I've spoken to hundreds of manufacturers in my time, and every single person I've spoken to would be able to regale the same story where somebody was driving out to site 2 hours away to install a kitchen or deliver on these goods, and they've got halfway out there or arrived at site and a couple of things have just been left off the back of the truck. That would be a weekly occurrence for a lot of manufacturers, and it doesn't matter if you're even an installation style manufacturer. Just the dispatching out the door, the ultimate point at which you deliver those goods to your clients is the point at which you get paid. So knowing that everything that's meant to be on that truck is there is huge. The second part to that is we wanted to include a feature which wasn't just the manual tick box style handling that some solutions may deliver. We wanted to take it to the next level and include the ability to scan. I mean, we live in a world of technology. Most of your team would be probably utilizing and taking advantage of our phenomenal kiosk mode. And this is just another feature that they can utilize to really streamline your processes. So there are two parts to that. You can print labels as part of our system, and they will have generated QR codes as an example here of what you can put together from the labels. I will show you where the templates are in the system, and we've already built them, so you don't even have to worry about that. They're ready to go, and how to populate those products and appliances if valid for your business. And then print those stickers, whack them on the products, have them go through the manufacturing process, scan them at those critical points, and most importantly, make sure everything is on the truck. And even for some companies, they'll probably want a tertiary checkpoint where we can actually say, yep, this has been scanned onto site as well. So there's absolute accountability and transparency through the entire process. And it's super easy to get up and running, super easy to use, and works really well. And that's what we love about this feature. We're focusing really heavy on the moment at the making sure that anything we release is absolutely there for user experience. We've got to make it easy so you want to use it. And I think the whole team will absolutely love this. And getting this part of your process is not going to be difficult. So really excited to show you that one. Now, for those of you who were across our release notes, you would have noticed this came out about a week and a half ago. And it pulled into a major release with two module features. And we ended up opening it up and releasing it on the Tuesday to every client, to make sure that everyone can take advantage of this as part of your subscription for free. So really exciting. We're going to dive into that today and cover off on some of the setup and the breakdown of how to manage that. The second feature we released, and just to give you an indication of how big these features are, these have taken months and months and months of work to put behind. So they're really, really big features, and that's why we're really excited to be able to get them out by the end of the year. They solve some massive problems, but also just on top of if you watch the last webinar, the 280 plus releases and features and usability upgrades we've done this year, these form two of our biggest components, which finish off the architecture for the software. So really exciting. The second feature is appliances. Now, we have included this as a paid feature, and I'll just quickly explain why. For a lot of businesses, in fact, most manufacturing sectors, this is not a feature that would be relevant to your business. So it felt a little bit silly to release this massive thing and then bring it in and say, well, we're going to have to, maybe up the cost of the software to cover off on this huge addition if it's not relevant to your business. We don't want to charge you for something you're not going to use. So that's the first and primary reason. The second reason is, on top of being an absolutely massive feature, for those companies that do need to manage and handle this particular component of manufacturing, and it would be a very specific area of the market, this provides huge return on investment. It is a massive feature. So that's the main reason. We just didn't want to, charge everybody for access to something they may not necessarily use. But for those companies that can benefit from it, it's not a huge amount of money a month, and you will absolutely see the return. So what is it? Foundationally, a lot of companies, especially in the joinery and cabinet making space, either project manage or handle appliances as part of their, I guess, simply project management of the job itself. That is to say, in a lot of businesses, especially when you work with builders, private residential, you may either on-sell or warehouse manage appliances as part of the fit out on behalf of your clients. And the reason being is very straightforward. If they have a fridge and you're building, cut out upper cabinets around that fridge in the kitchen, you need to know the size so that you can build the correct cutout dimensions for the final space. Now, that is not to say that every client who deals with appliances also then goes and on-sells them or warehouses them. That's a very specific area of the market, and this is very much designed to handle that as well. But the big win here is the transparency of what we refer to as appliance item specifications to be able to be filled out so that you can track and account for those appliances through the manufacturing process. And in turn, this goes hand in hand beautifully with the deliverables. Make sure that those things are on the back of the truck, even though they don't specifically add to job value. You're not selling them, so to speak. For a lot of businesses, you are still warehousing them. So you're still involved. They're in your premise as part of the delivery fit out. So it's super important that you're able to track them, know which jobs they're for, make sure the cutout dimensions are there correctly so that the manufacturing process goes smoothly. And most importantly, make sure they're at the back of the truck for when you head out to site and complete that project so you can get paid. So really, really big feature. There are some additions into this feature which you may or may not be relevant to your business, but I'm going to cover them today because I think they really can be very powerful. Excuse me. And also the ability then to track and see those utilizing a couple of new versions of item specifications, which are really, really good for this specific type of market, and also opens up some doors for us to potentially improve other areas of our specifications in the future, even if not relevant to appliances. Now, I will quickly note that whilst I've sort of delineated this feature directly for a very specific use case, the managing of, what we think of as kitchen and household appliances, such as fridges and dishwashers and range hoods and ovens, so on and so forth. There are a lot of other industry use cases where you could look to potentially manage appliances in your business. And a couple of really good ones is we have a number of fencing and gate businesses that work with Jobman. And as part of their product management, they on-sell things like automated gate motors. Now, whilst you might not typically think of that as an appliance, it's basically what it is. You're selling something that's pre-bought, you're not manufacturing it yourself, but it's critical to being able to create an automated gate. And you want to be able to sell, manage inventory stock, and obviously deliver on that product. Similarly, we work with some companies that work in like tiny homes and donga and small building construction companies. Similar sort of thing. Often as part of that fit out, you want to deal with things like air conditioners, security locks and doors, cameras, a lot of things that, on one half, they can be sort of semi-managed as a material, but you really want to be able to separate those in the quote because it's something you buy and then manage and then becomes part of the job itself, but it's not something you actually physically manufacture. So I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind while you're looking at this feature. If immediately you sort of go, well, I don't sell or supply or manage, fridges and ovens. It's okay. There is a lot of use case for this particular module outside of just the direct thought pattern behind household appliances. So keep that in the back of your mind. I will try and cover off some of those points, but I will be focusing specifically on the use case market that we have the most experience in, which is, builder management or private residential management and the inclusion of appliances as part of that job. It's enough excitement. Let's dive in. So part one, let's go into deliverables and start looking at those first off the bat. So from the deliverables point of view, there's only a couple of things you really need to be across to start using this in your business. So I'll cover those quickly in the settings, just so you know what you're looking for and where they're at. Don't worry, this is going to take all of about 3 minutes. So it's very easy to start taking advantage of this. The first part for the admin team, if you're looking at introducing this feature into your process, is underneath settings and jobs. You will notice that there is a new area called deliverable checkpoints. These are very straightforward and easy to set up. They are basically a name tag in, so it's just a field. You can customize them. You can call them whatever you want. You can have as many as you want. It's whatever suits your process. I've gone ahead and I've built probably 3 of the more important, no, I shouldn't say more important, more common user request ideas that we would get around a feature like this. And these are, as I said, Q&A process. Have a process whereby we've 95% finished the job in the manufacturing. We want to make sure everything's there and done so the job lines up. So have that Q&A process, scan everything through it and say, cool, this job is now done for that area. Second big one for the majority of companies, and probably if this is the only deliverable checkpoint you built, it would make a lot of sense, but dispatch, that final process to make sure, hey, we've done the hard work. The whole team from front to back has worked hard on this job. Let's make sure that everything that should be there is there. So that's a big one. And then I've got a third one, which I've just included called delivered to site. Very straightforward, nice and easy, just so I have that extra accountability. And especially if you work with contract installers, or perhaps you freight your goods. I know there are a lot of flat packing companies, for example, and that they freight their goods out. So they want some accountability on their end to say these things have arrived and they're there. They're sortable, so you can choose the order in which you would expect the process to go. So for example, QA, dispatch, delivered to site, they will now be the order you see in the deliverables module as to what gets scanned off first. So that's part one, nice and straightforward. Part two, also under the settings, is our templates. And there's 2, or really just one important one that you want to sort of start off with, and that is your job deliverable label. Now, for most of you, you will notice that right now, if you open this up, if you're a new client, this will already be taken care of for you. But if you're an existing client, this will just have a 0 next to it. Not a problem, nice and easy. Simply go in here, create. We've already built one for you, so it's nice and easy. Job deliverable label. Call it whatever you like. Just click on that and hit create, and immediately that template will be ready to go. Now, the good news is you can customize these. I don't recommend it. I can't think of a reason why you need to do it. However, if you do want to, you can build a couple. Some people may wish to use a deliverable template for, like a checkpoint list of things going out the door, in which case you could produce a secondary label version. And then when you go to actually print labels, which I'll show you in a minute, you have the capability then to choose between those. But for the most part, very little setup involved. You can just dive in and start using this product. Just kick this on. This will give you a new list of quite a huge amount of deliverable variables. And you can see we've built in all there, ready to go. You don't have to do anything. Don't need to be across HTML to use this feature. You can just simply dive in, use our template, and get working, which is huge. So then how do we utilize it? What's the process in which we can utilize these deliverables to really get moving forward and have some benefit in the system? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a very quick process and then show you the benefit therein of some of the things you can utilize for the deliverables and how using our product end to end can really drive humongous automation in your business. Super important to note when we go into the job, I'm going to show you that you do not have to do the full end-to-end process to take advantage of deliverables. For a lot of companies, they utilize Jobman, not an end-to-end process, but it's there to manage. A perfect example might be builder work, where your clients are providing all the specifications, the plans, the fit, the cost, everything's been pre-arranged. You just want to go in, manage and schedule the jobs, but still take advantage of deliverables. And I'll show you how to do that as well. But what we can do is give you a really good idea of what some of the automation benefit coming in to the software is. So in this example, I'm just going to add a quick preset so you can see some of the benefit of our cabinet-based quoting. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some products into this system. Ultimately, it's important to note that this is really the driving mantra behind deliverables, is that as part of your business, you will be going in and you will be adding products as part of your quoting, things you're going to manage. When you build kitchens, and it's not just relevant to kitchens, products in our system are very versatile. Like I said, we deal with a lot of different industries. We've got boat building, gates, furniture, commercial fit out. But ultimately, that's what you're doing, is you're producing products that can be utilized and benefit in the system. And that ultimately is what we're tracking. That's what we're trying to achieve. The quote is there to allow us realistically to build or develop our estimation, and then we want to run that process. So I'm going to do two items just so that you can sort of see one of the other benefits of deliverables is the ability to break down your quoting. For those of you who haven't seen our quoting process, make sure you check out we've got some great webinars on this, and I've got some really good ones planned for the new year where I can start to really show you some of the phenomenal use case and automation power behind the way Jobman works. Don't have to do it this way. It's not a problem, for companies that quote and estimate different ways. It's totally fine. Jobman's got your back. However, I wanted to really showcase this capability in the system so you get a good understanding of front to back automation. And if you are using our process or our software fully in your business, then you will have already been developed these processes to take advantage of it. That's why I love this feature. Really, really easy to get moving. So we've got our quote, linked to our lead, ready to rock and roll. We've finished our process. We're just going to check the system here. And we're going to dive in. We're going to turn this into a job. And we're going to, of course, link our very important super quote there. We're going to copy across our details, and we're going to bring this into our system. Now, what that's done is, aside from the usual benefits of the software that you'd be aware of, is in the background, we've now got realistic time ready to go. Point to this is not to show you how easy and phenomenal scheduling is in Jobman, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's fun. And I always enjoy that. But utilizing real capacity to be able to schedule out jobs based on where we need to get these things done by, with all the information known. So that's one component of it. The other resources you'd already be aware of in the system that are calculated as part of attaching that quote are, of course, materials, labor, services. And now you'll notice that you have a new area in your job resources called deliverables. So this is now our ability to populate those products into the system so that we can manage them and track them through the process. And it's very, very, very easy to achieve. So option one is utilizing and following our process back to front. We can see that there are products already built into our quoting, and in the background, those have come into their job, behind the job. So we can take advantage of that automation straight off the bat. Yet another reason why it's so good to be able to produce products in our system and manage them from front to back in. So I can populate them, don't need to populate the appliances because we're not covering those right now. And if in the instance where I had some products already built into the delivery schedule for deliverables, I could in fact refresh and update them if some information came through, but not necessary from the first run. And just like that, Jobman will go off. And I love the fact that it lets you know what's going on. And it's gone through all that background information and picked up the total deliverable products and information from the quote, populated in behind, and then just like that has run off and produced and populated our products ready to go. You'll notice a couple of really important things. Number one, because we're quoting properly in the system, the deliverables themselves are linked to the items. And the advantage of this for many companies, as you would know, is you can take a job and create what's called a work order in our system. So if you've got a really big job, and let's say this was, kitchen, bathroom, laundry, ensuite, al fresco, so on and so forth, as an example for a home renovation, you may want to break that job down into several different jobs. So by doing this, we can actually go in, separate out the work order, bring the information across, including time, materials, and services, and then now also populate the relevant products directly in. So we know that we're scanning, and if we're going to go out and for commercial fit out for an office or a boat or whatever your manufacturing sector is, you can separate them and see that in real time happening in each of those different work orders with the products linked specifically to those work orders themselves. So that's the first thing to know. You'll also see that we have our columns set and ready to go for your customizable checkpoints. And then there are two super important and easy ways to utilize this. Probably option sort of one from a getting started point of view, you want to start utilizing this, is you can manually handle the checkpoint handling. So if at any point, as you're getting used to this process, you simply come in and part of your thing is, hey, we've got a system in place where we measure and check those already, and we just want the team to be able to come in and measure off those compared to a particular checkpoint. It's very easy, very fast. You can go in and just tick them off, and you'll see that these are here. If something is wrong, it's not a problem with each of these checkpoints. I can open up the checkpoint list, go back to QA. You'll notice that it counts. So you've got a nice validation of data all the time. And I can come in, remove that one, and hit save. You'll also notice that when everything is ticked off up to that point, Jobman will automatically let you know. So there's a nice, and this is both operational for the kiosk mode and the office user mode. You got nice, fast validation. You can see that it's all there. It's green, big tick, hit save. Off we go. Nice and easy. So that's option number one, is if you just want to start using like this process and you want a bit of a manual process involved where you can go in and start delivering on those checkpoints and just get using this tomorrow, basically, that's how you can do it. The secondary option, and probably the preferred option for most companies, will be how can we build that automation into our flow so our team can manage this for us? And there's two really awesome and easy components to that. Number one is print labels. So you can set up one of your computers to be able to print to a particular label printer, choose the label printer, make sure you've got the right drivers installed. It's important to note that from a browser perspective, Jobman isn't managing the label printing. So there aren't settings in Jobman to go in and set up your label printer, for example. In modern technology, that's all handled by the browser on your computer. So just make sure you've got the right drivers set up, they're up to date, ready to go. And as part of the advanced instructions when printing from a browser, we'll be able to set that information up for you and send it through. Not a problem. All nice and seamless. You can delineate by item. So if you want to break down, you want to print the labels, for example, for just the kitchen or the bathroom, you can. But it's a nice, fast, clean process. Just to let you know, I've done this with 480 products, which is probably much larger than most people would be utilizing in the system. But it is very fast, very responsive to bring through and print out those labels. Now, if you wanted to test this, one thing you could do is you could, save this as a PDF, utilize your advanced settings, and you can do things like put 16 on a page just to be able to test it quickly and see how it works. But ultimately, you can just print these up, set these up to your label printer, and start rattling them out nice and quickly. I'll just cancel that so you can see what they look like as they come through. You'll notice that Jobman's done all the work here. We've got all the relevant information for your job labels ready to go. They're clean, they're very transparent. So it means when you're sticking the stickers on the products, it's going to be really clean for the team to be able to see and identify. We've got the very important information such as job number, job descriptions, the item, the name of the product, sizes. And I think by default, we also put in some things like site address for you, just so you can, really maximize the use of this straight out of the box without having to go through too much setup. So that's my beautiful products ready to go. And then the secondary part to that will then be using our fantastic kiosk on our phones. I can go in, log into my kiosk, and then essentially come down, choose in the jobs area, search for the job. You'll now see a new functionality for the checkpoints. And I can simply click on the checkpoint and then start scanning. And it is very responsive. It's a beautiful scanner. A couple of things about the scanner that you'll know. I can't actually demonstrate it, unfortunately, but for those of you who've seen the new deliverables video, you'll see exactly what we're talking about there. But have a play with this, have a test. It works no problems. Android, Apple, doesn't matter what technology your team is using. You can do it with tablets. Very flexible system. You'll notice that when scanning it, it has a high refresh rate. It's very quick. The bar will go green and there'll be a sound. There is an ability to mute that sound, so not everybody wants to be dinged at as they're running through the scanning, but they can scan, see it, it'll ding. You can turn that to mute if you wish. Oh, I think you can even turn the volume down a little bit and then have that done, and it's live. As we're scanning those items into the system, they're picking up the checkpoints. You hit save, and then all of this will refresh live. And if they've picked up all the products, which is the aim, we want to make sure everything's on the truck. Again, the green tick box will appear, and off we go. So when dealing with that, let's say we go into the dispatch as the next checkpoint. You see the scan QR option there. Let's have a bit of fun. Let's see what happens when I hit it. There we go. You can see me hanging out this time in the scan, ready to go. And I could go through and I could scan these items. You can see there you can mute the functionality, and that will all happen live. And your system will update. You can come back in, refresh the job, see the deliverables ticked out. And it's that easy. And that's what I love about this feature is it's very powerful, very useful, however, also very easy to get running with and moving. Now, the next question you're going to have is, okay, so what happens for companies that do not or not currently utilizing the end-to-end process for this? Can we still take advantage of deliverables? And the answer is absolutely. We have two current functionalities for you. And I use the word current strongly because it is our hope and certainly our aim to be able to expand this functionality beyond the point where it is at the moment. It will simply be a case of client user feedback coming back to us and saying, hey, can we also do this, so to speak? And the two probably easiest ways of achieving that, which will be utilized by a lot of companies, is number one, import from CAD. So right now, just so everyone's across the board, as of the moment of this demonstration, or this webinar, I should say, we have the import capability built in, ready to read light DB files for Mosaic. And we have also updated our Cabinet Vision JM Sync to be able to manage this as well. So look out, early next year, we'll be putting out some really good, intense documentation around how to utilize that. So this is a massive upgrade to the JM Sync. I know a lot of companies, Cabinet Vision and Mosaic users, so this is huge. And that ability to come in and drop those files. Now, I understand that for a lot of the Mosaic users, they already utilize Jobman end-to-end anyway. They create that design, they drop it into the quote, it's very fast. They tell it the styles, they add in extra services and materials where required and run the process. And then these are going to populate directly in. So the process is very easy. But for companies where, like I said, potentially you might do builder work or other industries where you're not quoting from that product level, but you have a way of generating that, you can come in and produce that on import. And then we also made, just to really cover the every use case out of the bat, we also have a deliverables import CSV, which you can custom build for your business. So you might use a CAD that we don't currently support, or there may be other things that you want to actually manage as part of this. So the predominance of deliverables right now is focused on products, because that's what Jobman is. It helps you with your product management and your job management to make sure that you're delivering and getting paid, keeping everyone on track. We have also extended this to be useful for appliances, which I'll show you in the second half of this webinar around the Appliance Module. But there are use cases in here that could be infinite for what you may want to do. And the beautiful thing about our CSV templating for this is it's pretty open world. So what I mean by that is there's no necessity when utilizing the import to call this thing or make this thing a product. This could be, I'm trying to think of some examples off the top of my head, but Hayfley Pantry, there we go, perfect example, where it's a material. It's not a product in your system. You quote it on as a material, and you're like, hey, that's a very expensive unit or an Aventos lift-off system. We want to make sure that's definitely on the back of the truck because we're not going to pre-build that, and we're going to set that on site. So you can come in here. We don't need to give it a number. Jobman will work out the numbers on import, and you can pretty much type anything in here, link it to any of the job items, and then fill out some of the other details if you want. You don't have to, and then import this, and we can basically bring in some additional products or additional deliverables. And if you're pretty cluey with a little bit of Excel, you could almost build that in a templated way so that this can be used over and over. In fact, what a lot of companies will do is they would build a structure there for extraneous things they want to be able to manage as part of deliverables, save it to the job file, have that template to copy every time a job is produced, and then the team can grab that Excel file, add in those deliverables, drop it into here, and then that's a really fast and easy way of also populating deliverables. The most important thing is you can also do a combination. So you can come in on the import and you can choose here whether to replace previously imported deliverables or add. Now, as long as you don't fill something in, if you have deliverables already in, like I've populated here, and you don't fill in the number column, no problems. Jobman will automatically assign the next number. So I think we're 22. So yep, next one will be 23, and it can bring them in, and you can bring in additional. So the beauty of this is it's very flexible to the type of manufacturing you offer. And that's something we really worked hard on. This feature is not just to make it a feature where you have to follow our process end to end to be able to take advantage of it. This can be used by every company, every manufacturing sector across the board. And in future, as those larger partners come to us, so for example, just so everyone's across the board, we're already trying to work with some clients around microvellum, and there will be other CAD companies that people want to take advantage of. As long as we can get those files and we know how the product listing is exported from the system, you build a way in which to bring them in. But for now, you've got the import export on the labels ready to go. Nice and easy. Love it. I love it just when things work. You can just come in and take advantage of them. This is huge. This solves so many problems. I mean, we talked about the idea that little Jimmy's out to site and he's left behind two scribes and a fridge. Quite often, your installation teams are driving hours to these sites. To have to turn around and come back, or worse still, create an alert, let people know we've forgotten something, come back the next day, schedule in time to grab those things to get back out to site. It's thousands of dollars of interruption to your business. Not to mention, it will also then stop other things happening in that time. So this feature is not just great from a transparency and validation point of view, it is a direct impact to your bottom line. It solves a huge problem. And we're so excited to get this out before Christmas. We weren't sure we were going to make it, but we made it. The team did an incredible job. And this is massive. You can start taking advantage of this in the new year, ready to go. So this is huge. I'm sure you might have a few questions around it, but I think that's honestly the brilliance of this system is the simplicity and the ability for us to bring in a lot of those features straight away. So you can just start using them. I think everyone loves the idea of scanning. Now that we have QR scanning in the system, that opens up future development as well. There may be other things we might be able to include and handle. And I love that. I love bringing new features in that are just easy and just work. So have a play, get involved, get stuck in. It's massive. This is probably one of those areas where for a lot of companies, they sort of, when they're looking at a system and they're debating, where do I go? What do I do? I want to bring an ERP into my business, but I'm not sure how much of a system I want to be able to use. Is it worth my time? What's the return? And they often look at smaller packages, smaller things in the market, siloed programs, or less developed systems. And that's cool. If you're just looking to solve one problem and you want to bring in a CRM. Or a tiny package made by a company that solves a couple of problems and that's suitable for you, absolutely fantastic. I have always said and will maintain and continue to say till hopefully the day I die that continuous improvement is about having a system that understands the end-to-end nature of your business, being able to utilize and improve all the processes, get everyone on the same page, all in the same software, all in the same area, validating and creating and utilizing those features to put money back in your pocket. So this is just another great feature accessible to everyone as part of the packages, standard, ready to go. Awesome. All right. Part two for our chapter locking. Appliances. Now, appliances, there is, again, not a huge amount of background set up from a consideration point of view, but this is another area of the software that has huge potential. What I want to make really clear about this is that one of the most common questions I get from clients starting to onboard with Jobman is how much stuff do I have to do to begin with to start utilizing things? So appliances essentially, for the short and curlies, a massive secondary upgrade to your catalog. So it's designed to be a secondary area. It has a lot of the mirrored functionality of your catalog items, such as materials, the ability to add them to quotes, inventory management, auto sourcing, purchase ordering, so on and so forth. There are some major differences, and that's what I want to cover today. But the real question is, people will say, hey, do I have to go out and spend hours and hours of my life putting in a lot of information to start utilizing this? And what I always say is no. Get some information, obviously. If you're a company and you already inventory manage and deal with, say, range hoods, very common. A lot of businesses that don't deal with appliances on mass, but they will deal with range hoods as part of their building or their cabinetry, and you stock them, or sinks, another big one. Build those items in and start using this functionality. Get on top of it, get using it. I didn't see where you can go from there. Much like the catalog, we say you don't have to start Jobman and then immediately have to go out and try and put in 45,000 items from your suppliers. Put in the top 200 items, manually enter them if you have to, but get them in, get them rocking and rolling, and start using the software. So from a background setup, there's a couple of things that I need to note. Nothing horrific, nothing scary here. The first thing is, and this is a bit unfortunate, because a couple of weeks ago I did a really good webinar dive on our settings area. We have updated and upgraded and changed one of our settings area. So under settings catalog, you'll notice now that this has been broken apart a bit more. So you've got a bit more user control. And the main reason we wanted to achieve that was just because there are very important things that are relevant potentially to one area of your catalog and not others. For example, your appliances will have slightly different things to your materials and your services. So breaking those apart now just makes it a little bit easier for people to manage. Don't worry if you're existing using our system. We haven't broken anything. All the information is still there. It just allows you moving forward to get a little bit more insular in our details. The one thing I do want to bring your attention to, though, is under settings, catalog appliances, assuming you've upgraded to this module. And if you're interested, please reach out to help. We can have a chat to you and we can see if this is suitable for your business. help@jobman.com. Send us a ticket. But one of the few things we will require you to set up is a couple of supply types. Now, what are supply types and why are they so important? Unlike typical materials and services in our business, in our software, appliances are one of those weird things where not every company quotes and sells them, but they still manage them. So perfect example is you do builder work as part of selling the kitchen and the bathroom and the laundry to the very excited people about to buy their brand new home or their renovation. Often the builder themselves will be the ones who go in and then organize the appliances. So they're selling the kitchen, you're seeing the showroom and they're like, hey, do you need a brand new oven? We recommend that Miele. It's beautiful. I'm not paid to say that. I just know it's a beautiful oven. And it's brought in and as part of this kitchen, if you want this kitchen, we recommend that oven. So they will actually manage it because the builders are dealing with a lot of homes all the time. They have quite a large capability to negotiate with suppliers and they get a pretty good on price. The tricky part is they're not the ones installing it. The joinery companies are. You're actually the guys who manage and install these things. So what tends to happen is you get the purchase order for the kitchen, for example, or the bathroom, or the laundry, or the job. And as part of that, in the addendum, they'll mention the appliance that will come through. And that information is important to you because you need to know, as I mentioned, what the cutout dimensions are going to be when producing the planning. You also want to know what those things are because you're going to be warehousing and managing them. You're not inventory controlling them, but they are in your warehouse. So you kind of need to know they're there and what job they're relevant to so that you can make sure they get out to site and that they're organized in the position. Now, one of the great features we have in the software outside of deliverables is the ability to print job labels. So this was a huge feature we released early 2025, I believe, or late 2024, where you can go in and you can connect up a label printer again to a kiosk or office user and print out labels for the job so things don't get forgotten and they're in the area. So because of that, we need a way in the system to delineate very specifically for appliances only. This is one of the new massive upgrades to the item specification intelligence handling, is to say there are different types of supply that will get managed based on those appliances. And I've just built a couple of really straightforward examples that most people would use. The first one is new. So new is the ability to say we will quote, sell, source, manage, deliver on these appliances. So perfect for those examples I mentioned previously where you actually as part of your business do on-sell appliances or you work in 4x4 fit out and you sell fridges as part of your 4x fit out joinery units. You know what I mean? And you buy the fridges because they're perfect. They're mini fridges. You've got them. They come in. You electrically modify them for the car batteries. It's part of your process. So you want to be able to manage them, source them, inventory control them, so on and so forth. So new covers that idea. And there is an update inside there which basically says can be sourced. Don't worry, we've got a nice little info tab there, so you don't have to remember what I'm talking about here. You can see it for yourself. And this basically is telling Jobman that this is an item that you'll quote on and inventory manage. For the rest of your supply types, it's likely you will not, in fact, have that ticked. And this is to cover all of the other types of handling where you need visibility on the appliances, but you're not going to be inventory management quoting on them. So these would be things like existing. We're doing a renovation on a kitchen. The client already has a beautiful fridge and recently upgraded their oven. They don't want new ones. We simply need to make sure the joinery fits around them and that can be reutilized. So existing client supplied, they might be doing the fit out, but they look at the builder prices and go, I don't want to pay that tax. I'm going to go down to Good Guys or Retrovision when they're on sale and get that for myself and handle it. Cool, no problems. Client supplied or builder supplied is probably one of the most common. So one of the first setups you'll just need to do, very quick and easy, is just build out some of your supply types once we turn this feature on for you. And just make sure that you're only connecting the sourceable ones to the ones you physically want to have value in your system and manage. Very easy, nice and straightforward. Again, sortable, so you can choose how the list comes through. So that's part one. Part two then is we have a couple of new templates built in the system for a number of very useful, important areas of this upgrade. The first one is the lead appliance specifications. Again, if you're an existing client, this might currently say 0, not a problem. Simply come in, hit create, choose lead appliance specifications. We have a couple of layout types, and we've in fact built two, the two most common ones that you'll want to utilize with this system. The first one is the lead appliance specification itself. This is, I will show you in a second so you can see it in real time. The second one we've built is also extremely important. It's basically for those companies where they themselves don't manage down the appliances themselves. And what they do instead as part of the sell is the client goes and sources them. For example, you want an easy, fast way to be able to produce a template and print it out and hand it to them based on the items you're dealing with. So again, rooms, kitchen, bathroom, laundry, ensuite, and say, hey, you go fill this out, give it back to us, so we know what to expect. We can enter those into the item specifications in our system, and now we've got a manageable, trackable system. So again, very easy and quick to create. Just hit create. Don't need to go crazy on the customization. We've done the hard work for you. There are template variables there if you want to play with this, but for the most part, we've built two beautiful templates. The third one, excuse me, is underneath the appliances themselves for companies that wish to manage these as part of maybe their checklisting, whether or not they use deliverables. Often people will want to print that list out. So they've got a physical copy, and that might go with the dispatch team out to site. It might be something you print out and give to the client just so they've got referral to the building supervisor, so on and so forth. So we have what's called a job appliance template as well. And this is designed to allow you to print inside a job on those particular appliances themselves and have a list performing. So again, you'll probably see this new tab here, job appliances. It may say 0. Just hit create, choose the new layout and template, and you're off and running. We've done the hard work. No HTML experience right here whatsoever. It's all ready to go. So that's part 1 and 2. Once you've got those two operational, so we upgrade your subscription, we turn on the feature for you, build your supply types, make sure your templates are going. Then it's a matter of how to then utilize the catalog itself. And you will notice there will now be a new area for you in your software under catalog, where you would normally see your materials, services, and products. We have a new tab called appliances. As much as possible throughout the software, we have separated this concept for two reasons. One, again, if it's not relevant to your business, you're not going to turn this feature on. We don't want you seeing random stuff in the software that makes no sense. But two, because this is quite, for those companies that manage this is quite a large area of their business to manage. You want to keep this information separate. It should be wrapped up inside your materials, for example. And in your inventory, you want to be able to manage and separate that quickly. For all intensive purposes, these will operate similarly to catalog materials. So I don't need to go over a lot of the population of this. For most people who are comfortable, and you can check our docs to cover off on this, but you can manually create them. You can import them from CSV. It's much like adding a catalog material to your business. For a lot of companies, they do not go to the level to which they're going to, enter catalogs from their suppliers, although there are a number of, certainly in Australia, I imagine around the world, large suppliers such as Hayfley, And there's a couple other in Australia that also produce appliances that you can buy and sell as part of your joinery business. So there are examples there. And like I said, if you work in, fencing or modular homes, you'll have similar agreements. So you can choose to create these manually. You can import them, or for what a lot of companies will utilize these for is they'll create what's called generic quote pricing options. So they'll, much like their materials when choosing ranges, they'll create oven examples, fridge examples, so on and so forth, that they standardize, and then they can be quoted on and then brought in and out based on what happens in the management of the system. There are, however, a couple of differences, and this is part of the reason this was such a monster update for our system. There are a couple of differences between appliances as items as opposed to materials. So one of the first major differences, you will now see that there is a model number in appliances. So typically for our materials, our point of truth is always the SKU. That's the delineating factor. For appliances, it could be model number or SKU. If you go to like the Good Guys website, for example, you'll see that most of them don't have an SKU, they have a model number. That's their uniform. That's their universal way of identifying the information. So you can see that, you can enter those fields, and these now become an either or an and. So you can either enter the SKU or the model, or you can just use the model number or the SKU or both. Nice and easy. All the other fields will make sense. You'll have seen them before. Description fields, external URL, so you can quickly link out to the website. Images, of course, one of my favorite parts of the software. Brands, finishes, colors, range, so on and so forth. Standardized units of measurement. However, there is a new area, and this is cutout dimensions, and this is one of the most important reasons for the upgrade. A lot of companies sort of have utilized materials in the past to be able to hack their way through dealing with appliances, but they miss out on some key core functionality. And this is one of them, the ability to tell the system what the cutout dimensions for this standardization or appliance are, so that every time we go in and we're dealing with a job that has this particular appliance in it, that information can be passed to the team digitally and automatically. And there are a couple of extra fields here. They're not required fields. You do not have to enter the measured at, time, and measured by. If you import, we will automatically just set this up at the time. You can see I imported some of these yesterday and who by, just so you've got a standard reference point. These, however, are updatable fields. So if you add a new appliance to your system and you have a new process where someone needs to come in and check and measure those cutout dimensions and get ticked off by someone, just make sure they're 100%. That information is now there. It can be updated, ready to go. And everything else is pretty straightforward. For the vast majority of these are going to be each. It's just one price. You buy a fridge for a price and you set your markup, all of which can be handled in the catalog pricing. So settings, catalog pricing, and you'll see your default where you can put in your overhead, margin, so on and so forth for appliances themselves. They're a totally new category. So all of that's pretty easy. You will see that we've got a new utilization field here. So you can see the model number on the outset and everything else there is ready to go. We've got new categories built in relevant to the appliances themselves. And you can always go out and visit the site URL for the appliance itself, much like materials, but now all in one place, nice and easy to manage with the upgrades. There is a super important thing to note around the power of categories and appliances versus normal items. Appliance categories have a secondary superpower, and that is the ability to delineate appliances based on their category inside items. And this is huge. This is hopefully something we're thinking if we can roll out to other areas of our specifications, but certainly one of the most important parts to the appliance specifications. That is to say that if I bring up a kitchen, I only want a list of categories relevant to a kitchen. For example, I don't want exhaust fans coming up in my list. So Jobman can now say, okay, only show me the things that are relevant to a kitchen. Then show me all the categories that are relevant to the kitchen. And if I'm looking for something, I don't want to go and look through all of my material list. I want to be able to break it down pretty quickly. So say kitchen and then say ovens, and then just show me the ovens. So this is one of the really important massive upgrades for the appliance specifications, and probably the major reason that most people will utilize this feature outside of the ability to quote and project manage. Like I said, the majority of companies are project managing appliances, not selling them and stocking them. It's too hard. However, the capability is there. So what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to run you through a bit of a fast process so you can see what this looks like and the new additional upgrades and how you can use them. So appliance module, and I'm going to add in a bathroom and a kitchen just to make our life nice and easy. Bang, create the lead very quickly so I can show you the new areas. So there's two things to note. Number one, you will now see under your resources, if you've upgraded this module, appliance specifications. Ready to go. Now, the beauty of choosing your items first is taking advantage of that superpower. It's one of those very simple automations in our software that add a lot of value. Choosing the items from outset then automatically allows the items to be populated in the quote, automatically starts setting up the specifications so you can tell the software what's going to be involved with this job. And now will also immediately allow you to start delineating for appliances as well. This is huge. Quick note, this is taking a little bit longer than expected, but I don't mind. This is a big one, and hopefully you're happy to stay with me. I want to run through this and give you some of the exciting features. I knew it was going to take a bit longer than my normal webinar time, so I apologize if you do have to run. I understand, but hopefully you'll stick with me for a few more minutes, and I just want to run through the end of this so you can see the true power of this new feature. So now that I've got my items, I've got my kitchen and my bathroom, I can update. And our new item specifications specific to appliances are very clean, very easy to utilize. You'll notice this new beautiful layout as well. And that is to say everything in here can now be delineated. When I choose the categories, I would only choose categories relevant to that area itself. Now, I've intentionally stuffed this up so I could show you this so that you can see that I wouldn't have cooktops, fridges, and ovens in my bathroom set. So I can go back and fix those categories so they're only relevant to certain items. But in this instance, we'll choose our exhaust fan. We've got a couple of options here, ready to go. And then now that all-important supplier type. So in this instance, I'm going to add new just to show you what this looks like. And then we have a fantastic new feature here, which is really easy to quickly add and remove. Lots of beautiful updates have come in as part of this. And we're certainly very excited at the idea that this could be rolled out into other areas as well. For the kitchen, I'm going to choose an oven, which I've got built in. And I'm going to choose supplier type new. And I'm also going to add in another appliance quickly, which is going to be a fridge, which is our Samsung. But in this one, I'm going to call it client supply. And this is really important. So there we go. Bang, just like that. We're starting to fill out our specs, ready to go. These, of course, can be printed. And now I can choose the template. So I can say, yep, these are the specs specific to this job. This could be printed, saved to PDF, and then shot out to a supervisor, or a client, or as part of the Reno questionnaire, anything along those lines. There you go. Template's ready to go. Pictures, images, everything there. Fantastic. The secondary option here is that for a lot of companies, like I said, they're not going to manage the appliances specifically. So they need a way to be able to monitor and manage that information without specifically filling it out first. And that's why we built the customer questionnaire template. This solves the problem for those companies where they're just like, I need to be able to produce a template, shoot it out. It's an example for the first one, just so that the team knows what they're doing, and come in here, send this out to the client or the builder, and they can fill out some of this information. If you have added things, they will show up already, and then the client has the option to go in and add more things as part of that breakdown. And you can simply add more items and more categories and not fill them out, and that PDF will print out. And then once hopefully the client does come back, if you do manage them, you can enter the details, put in there whether they're client supplied, new, existing, builder supplied, so on and so forth. And now you've got a lot of accountability. So we're going to very quickly, I'm going to go crazy here. We're just going to quickly produce a quote as well, because I want to show you the two facets to this side. So there we go, advantage of items. So I can bring that in straight away. Imagine I've got my specifications here, so I know what I'm doing. Now, immediately, I have my appliance breakdowns. I can see that information in the system, and these can be added directly to quotes. So that's certainly a big first benefit to the platform. Similarly, I can add appliances also to products. So for a lot of companies, let's add in one of those. And just for fun, I'm going to add in one of these as well. Beautiful. Now, obviously, normally I would have products and all sorts of other stuff going on here, but we're going to keep this nice and simple just to show you how this works. One of the most common things a lot of companies will do is they will build specific product cabinetry into their library for quoting, and they may want to include standardizations. So rangehood, for example, would be one where you build an upper type open cab, the rangehood built in, because you know that you produce that over and over and over again. And then whether it's client supplied or you supply it, it's always ready to go at the right measurement specs, priced correctly. you can now add appliances directly, if you wish, into those. And you can set them up as quote pricing options to be changed later, or you can set them up as the exact materials themselves, appliances themselves, such as sinks, range hoods, so on and so forth. You get the idea. Lots of opportunity here. So if I now come in and accept that quote, we kick over this lead, I'm going to push into a job. There's two new important functionalities that are worth you noting around this. The first part is, as I said, you can manage those appliances much like you would materials. I can quote on them, I can warehouse them, I can source them, so on and so forth. So long as they fall into that new category, ready to go. I can, however, also utilize, and I'll just drag this in the middle of the screen to make it a bit cleaner. So I can attach the quote. You will notice that when you upgrade, you'll have a new option here, and that is to copy lead appliances. Now, this is worth mentioning because this is a very important part of this functionality. Unlike typical item specifications, where the objective is to fill out the item spec, which is all the details about the job, right? It's what are the colors, what are the finishes, what are the handles going to be, so on and so forth. So now the team has a one-stop shop for all the stuff they need to do for this job, and everyone can use it. The estimator, the designer, the manufacturer, the installs, all on one page. Appliance specifications work the same way. However, because they are more powerful, that is to say, we need options relevant to those specifications as to what those items will be when they come into the job. There's a little bit of extra nuance here. And that is to say, if I quote on something, an appliance, it will come through to the job. First thing the system will do is double check the spec to make sure that it aligns and comes in. So that's all good. However, if I've chosen client supplied or builder supplied or existing, anything that is not cannot be sourced, we also want that information to come into the job because you need to be able to manage them. You want your deliverables to work, you need to be able to see them, you need visibility. What you don't want is job values being amended, which we won't, and you don't want any form of inventory sourcing happening. So that's that important delineation between supply types. New can be sourced, or you can call it whatever you like, but basically anything that has the can be sourced tick box is something that will run through your inventory management process. Everything else won't, but they will still appear. So if I now go in and I create this job, you'll see that under my resources now, we have a new tab called Appliances, and there's my appliances. And the thing about the system that's so intelligent is it's able to come in and say, hey, we've quoted on a couple of these things, but there were also items that needed to come through from the spec. We didn't quote on this because we did quote on this because I want to show you the difference, but it's specifically come in as well because we've put client supplied in there. So you can see it, you can know it, you can manage it. What I can't do is I can't source it. So it skipped that particular one because this is not designed to be sourced. We're not warehouse managing this. So this covers the use case, which the majority of, I imagine, appliance users will do, where they don't actually on-sell and inventorize appliances. They simply need an ability to track them, measure them, bring them through. So all that beautiful intelligence is there. Purchase order, purchase order, purchase order. And I already added one of my ovens to my inventory to show you that worked as well, much like a thing. So I can check it, manage it, see it, automatically bring it in ready to go. And the rest of these will be ready for my purchase ordering, and they'll follow like items. So the beauty of this is very similar to the material handling, but new important power upgrades. And one of those very specific upgrades is we now have a job appliance template built in. So as I said, if you need that validation, you need to be able to send something to either the client or the builder or the supervisor, or as part of modular homes, whatever it is you do and utilize these appliances for, you can now print this out as part of the job as well, providing maximum transparency through the system, from not just a lead facet. I mean, a lot of people would use the lead spec as the printout if you want physical copy, but you also have the option in the jobs as well to be able to print them out, get some accountability and see what's going on. Really exciting, really powerful. This is a very powerful area of the software. not just from the ability to customize and delineate those particular categories down, but also the ability to see the information, manage the information in a very particular way that makes it easy for the team to manage moving forward. Now, just before I show you the last part to that particular end of the appliance module itself, I just want to quickly mention the stuff up I made intentionally to show you the system. So settings, catalog, appliances, categories. You'll notice here that there is a new specific delineation just for appliance categories where I can choose the item types they are relevant to. So in my stuff up, I had my fridges set to all. They shouldn't be all. I can't sell fridges for everything. I can only sell them really in kitchens and potentially al frescos and maybe garages. So not a problem. Under settings, catalog, appliances, I can go to the category, I can update it, and now bring that across. You can see that it will only be relevant to those particular items. So next time I go add a specification in, it's not going to apply them to all. Really, really, really powerful. Something we'd like to be able to introduce into normal specifications. So when you choose, for example, you've got a specification question and it might be board colors or board types, you can then delineate by the category and will only show those lead types relevant to that area. Massive. So really, really exciting. This is coming to appliances, opened up some big doors for us, but you can see the power here. It's really easy for me to say, based on the items, only show me these categories. Based on those categories, only show me those particular appliances themselves, which is awesome. One thing you would have noted in that video there, and I will mention this because this will improve in the future, is when adding the appliance to the quote, the delineating factors weren't there. They will be added in. We intend to add in a material browser specific to appliances to follow that same logic and make this process even easier. So just thought I'd quickly mention that one. So the last part then is, okay, now we've got our appliances built into our system. We can now take a secondary advantage of our phenomenal and amazing deliverables. I mean, I can choose products, it's not going to hurt. I didn't put it in, but I can also now utilize the system to manage these appliances based on those deliverables as well. So I can now have checkpoints to make sure these things go on the trucks, make sure they're received. You might build a new checkpoint, which is received appliances, so that if you're managing this, you can tick them in and say, hey, we've received them. They're sitting here ready to go. So we know they'll be part of the job. Print some labels, whack them on, get them scanning, all part of the process. So this is one of those great features where it ties in both for the management and handling of both deliverables and appliances rolled into one. But naturally, if you don't need appliances for your business, you can still absolutely take care of the deliverables as well and utilize those. And the last point, of course, is that because you can now manage and operate those, we've updated a lot of the reporting to also show those new categories and areas. So you can now measure and see appliances coming through the process. So I estimated on my appliances. I've applied no variations. I've actually gone off and sourced some of these, and I have some net profit attached to that. And we've also included delineation in areas like the inventory source stock ledger report. So you can start to see this information separated, and you can see, or hopefully start to get a bit of a feeling for just how big this module is. It's not just, a little easy add to the system. It touches so many parts of the software. And kick those off. There we go. There's my 4 remaining ovens ready to go. I can pick list and light materials. This is a monster edition of the software. It's touches a lot of stuff. There's brand new specification power, new catalog, new inventory, new reporting. So much going on here. New additional deliverables. There's heaps and heaps and heaps happening in here for this module. Absolutely worth it for companies that deal with this on a week-to-week basis. This module is huge. So really excited that that's come in. The option is there. Have a think about it. If it is relevant to your business, reach out in the new year and we'll make sure we work out how to get that switched on for you, and you can start taking advantage of this great feature. Otherwise, you've got access to deliverables and everything else in between.